Back in Africa, where some of humanity's oldest ruins and cave paintings still exist, humans weren't just drawing history on walls. They were learning how to survive and how to kill. For over 2 million years, our ancestors used stones as tools and weapons. Even one of the oldest stories of murder begins with a stone. Archaeologists have even found ancient skulls carrying signs of brutal, blunt force trauma from hundreds of thousands of years ago. But fear changes people. Survival forces people to adapt. Humans learned to shape flint into razor-sharp tools. Hand axes became deadly, but they still had one problem. You had to get close. Then humans created something that changed everything: the spear. For the first time, you didn't need to stand face to face with a mammoth or your enemy. Suddenly, small groups of humans became far more dangerous than anything before them. And this was only the beginning. Because for over 100,000 years, early humans evolved alongside nature, sharpening basic tools into lethal weapons that would shape every ancient civilization you have read in any book ever since you were born. But then, the spark of innovation caught fire, and ancient minds began engineering weapons so complex and deadly, they laid the very foundation and inspiration for the advanced technology we use today. But then humans made a discovery that may have terrified the first people who saw it. Somewhere in Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, people began melting copper and mixing it with tin. What came out wasn't just metal. It was a breakthrough that gave birth to the first weapons designed specifically for organized warfare. No longer limited by brittle stone, armies could dominate with superior, indestructible metal. And humans immediately did what humans always do. They started thinking about war, and for the first time, entire cities could look at their neighbors and realize we can actually take them. The invention of the wheel made them faster, and it's like the chariots were literally the fighter jets of the ancient world. This wasn't survival anymore, this was conquest. But the Egyptians were something out of a sci-fi movie. While neighboring civilizations often treated chariots as heavy war platforms, the Egyptians engineered something entirely different. Ultra-lightweight, high-speed mobile firing systems built for speed and precision. In many ways, they function like the fighter jets of their era, rapidly striking enemies before vanishing beyond retaliation. And if chariots ruled the land like fighter aircraft, then on the rivers and seas, warships had already become the ancient world's destroyers. Humanity was no longer creating weapons alone, it was creating entire combat systems. If we imagine slings and spears as the ancient equivalent of firearms and chariots as fighter aircraft, warfare was already evolving into something far more complex. Because the Romans later developed the testudo formation, with legionaries locking shields together into a moving armored shell, protecting infantry from devastating volleys of arrows and projectiles as they advanced toward enemy walls. Alongside them came massive siege towers and wall-breaking engines designed to crack open heavily fortified cities. But some weapons were designed not just to destroy walls, they were designed to create terror itself. Greek fire became one of history's most mysterious chemical breakthroughs. Unlike ordinary flames, it could continue burning even across the surface of water, transforming naval battles into floating infernos and making escape nearly impossible. However, during these eras, mythology spoke of something very different. Worlds of gods wielding bows, tridents, and sickles, capable of unimaginable destruction. Reality, however, was often less dramatic. Weapons such as tridents and net combinations occasionally appeared in gladiator arenas, designed not purely for killing efficiency, but for spectacle. Their purpose was often to prolong combat and entertain the crowd rather than end fights quickly. But history was about to create something far more terrifying than myth. During the late medieval period, Europe became dominated by heavily armored knights, living tanks on horseback who believed steel, skill, and divine favor made them nearly unstoppable. Then came 1415. At the Battle of Agincourt, a vastly outnumbered English force unleashed the longbow with devastating effect. Arrows darkened the sky like rain, cutting through advancing formations and bringing chaos to the battlefield. The pride of French chivalry collapsed into mud and panic. A weapon placed in the hands of ordinary men had humbled the elite. But even this revolutionary weapon had limits. Arrows could kill men, yet stone walls still stood. And far away, a formula born in ancient China was about to change warfare forever. The interesting story behind gunpowder is rooted in a profound cosmic irony. It was accidentally invented by people who were trying to live forever. During the Tang Dynasty, Taoist alchemists were obsessed with finding the elixir of immortality, a mythical potion that would grant eternal life. These alchemists frequently experimented with various minerals, salts, and elements. At the time, they were particularly fond of saltpeter, potassium nitrate, because it was used as a meat preservative, leading them to believe it possessed life-prolonging qualities. One day, an unnamed alchemist decided to mix 75 parts saltpeter, 15 parts charcoal, and 10 parts sulfur. Instead of creating a potion of eternal life, the mixture was exposed to an open flame and instantly exploded. The discovery was so volatile that it was initially treated as a dangerous workplace hazard rather than a breakthrough. The earliest written record of gunpowder comes from a 9th century Taoist text, which actually serves as a safety warning to other alchemists. The text explicitly notes, "Some have heated together sulfur, realgar, and saltpeter with honey. Smoke and flames result so that their hands and faces have been burned, and even the whole house burned down." However, because we are humans, the worst was about to happen. Mass production and industrial power would soon make killing impersonal on an unimaginable scale. Gunpowder gave us cannons. The Industrial Revolution gave us the Maxim gun, the first fully automatic machine gun, capable of firing over 500 rounds per minute. It turned a single weapon into a meat grinder. In colonial wars across Africa and Asia, small European forces with Maxims mowed down vastly larger armies. At the Battle of Omdurman in 1898, British forces killed nearly 11,000 Sudanese warriors while losing only 48 men. One observer called it not a battle, but an execution. But humanity wasn't done. In the trenches of the First World War, soldiers would face an enemy they couldn't see, hear, or outrun. On April 22, 1915, at Ypres, the Germans released 168 tons of chlorine gas. A yellowish-green cloud drifted toward Allied lines. Men coughed, choked, and drowned in their own fluids as their lungs burned. Chemical weapons introduced a new kind of terror, invisible, persistent, and agonizing. Mustard gas blistered skin and eyes for weeks. Phosgene killed hours later with a smell like fresh hay. Over 1.3 million casualties due to poison. Maxim could kill you quickly, but chemicals made you suffer first. Yet even this horror would pale in comparison to what came next. Weapons that could erase cities in a single flash. On July 16, 1945, the desert of New Mexico lit up brighter than the sun. The first atomic bomb had been detonated, and the scientists who created it watched in awe and terror. Less than a month later, Little Boy and Fat Man fell on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In seconds, entire cities were vaporized, destroying the lives of over 200,000 humans. Survivors faced radiation sickness, burns, and generational mutations. And so, because of humans' hate for humans, the world had reached the atomic age. A single bomb carried the destructive power of thousands of conventional raids. It carried the power of 1,000,000 horses and assassins, and the balance of power shifted forever. Mutually assured destruction, MAD, became the grim logic of human war. For the first time in history, humanity held the ability to end civilization in an afternoon. But despite all this, all the steel, fire, and explosive power in history cannot compare to the deadliest weapon of all, which is literally the blueprint of all human wars, which is the human mind. Ideas and beliefs have toppled empires, sparked world wars, and ended them. Religion, ideology, nationalism, democracy, communism. These invisible forces have moved millions to kill or to lay down arms. Propaganda convinced ordinary people to commit atrocities. Information and disinformation shapes modern conflicts more than any missile. Social media can mobilize revolutions or spread hatred at light speed. The atomic bomb can destroy cities, but conviction can convince entire nations to build them, or to dismantle them, or to defend their right to possess and use them against others who do not agree to their beliefs and ideologies. The most powerful weapon ever created isn't hardware, it's what we choose to believe, what stories we tell, and what ideas we spread. In the end, humanity's greatest threat and greatest hope has always been itself.